Well, boys, today we're going to do the actual review of the Model O, just to give you guys an interpretation of which model I thought was the best, which one actually performed the best, which I was surprised with, and just go over some of the specs and all that stuff. Let's jump into that right now, boys. What is up, guys? I know I haven't been putting out videos as much, but I've just been really busy with work, and I've been really wanting to do this review for quite some time, and now I think is a good time to actually put that out and get that out to you guys. So we're basically going to go over the matte black, the glossy white, what I think the pros and cons are of it. Is it better than the final mouse, better than a lot of these other mice? All that good stuff. I'll try to cover as much as humanly possible. I may miss something here and there. If I do, forgive me for that, but I have been extensively testing them, and if you guys have been over on my Twitch, you guys know that I've been swapping them back and forth between the glossy and the matte, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. All right, so I don't want to get too lengthy into this video. I just want to cover some pros, some cons, what I prefer between the matte or the glossy. Is it going to be, better than this mouse, so on and so forth, and just kind of give you my quick hitters and hopefully not take too much of your time, but give you just a little more in-depth review on if this mouse would be good for you. Now, the first thing, and I've said this before the mouse came out, this is a medium to a large-handed mouse. If you like a G305 or a G Pro wired, something like that, and you feel like that's about your comfort size, this is probably not the guy for you. This is definitely going to be for that guy who likes the medium, the large hand, that likes the palm. You can get by with a claw grip if the hand's big enough. So keep that in mind first and foremost, okay? So let's cover some pros of these mice, okay? Price is where we absolutely have to start. So you have your matte black coming in at 50 bucks, and you have your glossy coming in at 60 bucks. So right off rip, those prices are absolutely insane for what you're actually getting. I would go as far as to say for the money of what you pay, there is no better mouse on the market for the money, dollar to dollar, okay? As far as shape, they went with a very, very safe shape. This is basically within 0.5 millimeters in the width of being a FK1. From Zowie, which is not a bad thing. We're not here to talk about, who took what from what. We're just debating this mouse right here. And that shape is phenomenal. Great shape, it's safe, it's solid, gonna fit a lot of hands, super comfortable. So that is definitely a pro. The sensor, they use a 3360 sensor in these mice, which is one of the best sensors that you're gonna get. At this point, with the way sensors are, it's not going to really matter as far as sensor. You should get something that's comfy for you, then go by weight, then worry about the sensor, because most mice within the last year or so all have great sensors in them. So that's definitely a pro here too. Next thing is weight for the pros. So you're going to be sitting at 67 grams on the matte, 68 grams on the glossy. Obviously, they achieved that by doing the honeycomb and stuff like that. And they did a good job at it. I didn't have any discomfort when playing or using the mice for an extended period of time, and I thought that they worked just fine, no issues. RGB, I guess you could put that as a pro or con. I put it under the pro category just because it's one little extra feature that most mice don't really put in there, and it looks phenomenal on the glossy versions of the mice, especially the white. It is just absolutely banging. Whenever you have the lights dimmed on there, it shows through beautifully on there. The cable is actually a pro and a con. I'm giving it a pro because it's flexible, it doesn't really move the mouse, and it is definitely better than your stock braided cable or your rubber cable that you're gonna get. One thing that a lot of people don't touch on too as a pro is the macro capabilities. You can basically take this DPI, and if you use Discord and you want it to be a push to talk, you can make it a push to talk if you want to. I'm sure they're gonna do more with their software as far as being able to differentiate the lights. Because right now you can't do that, but I'm sure that's probably a software thing that they're going to fix. So I really love the macro ability. I haven't really used it, but it's nice to know that it's there. I wish that was available on more mice. I don't know why it's not, so there's that. As far as cons, again, the cable. And what I mean by the cable is both of my mice came bent, if you can see here, right out of the box, it has this bend in it, and you can feel in the cable like a gluey, like shielded plastic in there, and I don't like the feel of it. And quite honestly, I think the white version should have came with a white version of this cable, black with black. And I feel like they could have made the cable aesthetically a little nicer. And again, we're nitpicking, but I've got to give you something because it's not perfect. I think that they could have went with more of a paracord actual cord, and it would have looked better aesthetically, and I would have liked to have seen the colors on that. Not a huge con, but just know that the cables do come crinked. They feel funny, and I honestly, and I've talked to a few people, they don't look like they match the mice at all. That's just me. Button wiggle. So here's the odd thing, okay? On my glossy, I have like hardly no button wiggle at all. I mean, I'm moving this pretty good. I got nothing. However, on my black model, there is a lot of button travel on these buttons here. I have a buddy who actually has a matte white one. He has button travel on these too. And I don't know if it's more predominant on the matte black or the glossy. Like I said, my glossy was absolutely fine. However, that's something to keep in mind. It probably is not going to affect the mouse, okay guys? So don't freak out if yours has the button wiggle. It's probably okay. A lot of mice do have that, but it is a con that I would like to throw out there because this bothers me in game. And I know a lot of people are probably going to post in the comments like it shouldn't matter, yada, yada, yada. But I do, whenever I have my hand on my mouse, I sometimes will get fidgety, and I don't have that problem with my glossy. And on my matte black, I can feel it all over the place, and it's just something that sidetracks me personally. Probably doesn't really bother a whole lot of people. Now, another question I get asked a lot in my Twitch is, do I like the glossy or the matte? And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I usually prefer a matte mouse. I do not like the glossy versions of the Zowie mice. When I got my S1, my S2, instantly matted those things out. However, it's probably a placebo effect because I've yet to weigh them, and I'm not going to weigh them because I've already talked to a couple people and they said that it actually weighed what it weighed, so I took their word for it because they were credible. I thought the glossy felt better to me personally. I didn't have as much of a sticky feeling as I did with my Zowie mice, and I honestly thought that I aimed better with my glossy version. I thought it was going to be the matte black, but I tried it several times of switching back and forth between the two mice, and I had more consistency with the glossy model. That's probably me and a placebo effect, but that's just something to take in the note that I found it way better for me than the matte. If you have really sweaty hands though, you probably still want to go with that matte mouse just to be safe than sorry with that. Just giving you my thoughts on that. And again, these are my opinions, just my results from what it is. Now, this or a final mouse. And right now, I mean, obviously the clear choice is the Glorious mouse. I personally didn't really have a whole lot of issue with my final mice, so I really don't have too many quarrels with them. Like I had some discoloration on my Air 58 and so on and so forth, and I know a lot of people have had a lot of problems with that customer service. And their customer service is pretty bad. So for the money you're paying for this mouse and what you're getting, I definitely would go with this. You can weigh these mice with the cable attached to them, and they're pretty close to the Air 58. The Air 58, when they weighed those, they had the cable off of them and they kind of fudged their numbers a little bit because that Air 58 comes in closer to like 61 grams. And this is, 67. So you're talking about, a few grams of difference, but for the money that you're gonna pay is insane. You're gonna spend $130, $140 on eBay on someone's used final mouse that you really don't know if it's any good or not. Compared to $50, you get a brand new one, it's got a 2-year warranty. I mean, that's kind of, for me, a no-brainer. Another question that I get a lot of is, should I get the Glorious or the G Pro Wireless? I'm just going to tell you guys up front, me personally, the G Pro Wireless is my favorite mouse. It was probably going to be my favorite mouse for a while. I always like this, only due to the fact it's wireless. I have great aim with it. I'm consistent with it. Battery life is great, on and on and on, but we're not really talking about that. We're just answering a question. I tell people for the money, and if you don't mind if it's wired, you are crazy not to get the Glorious Model O. For the money and what you get, it is the best bang for your buck, hands down. I don't care what anybody says. If you have a little bit of extra money, especially if you want wireless and you want something that's just a phenomenal mouse, I would say the G Pro Wireless. So I think it's just going to depend on how you look at it. That could go either way. A quick side note. because I haven't heard a lot of people touch on this either with their reviews. The Glorious Model O uses the same pin connector as a Zowie paracord. So if you guys want to go ahead and get paracords for these, you can order a Zowie paracord, or if you have a Zowie laying around, you can use the Zowie and swap them out. I'm thinking that's probably what I'm going to do with mine, just because I mean, like I said, not trying to knock them too much, but I've got a critique. I think the cable looks really bad on these mice, and I hate this bend, and it feels really weird in there. So those were my pros, cons, what I preferred, what mouse is better. We'll flip back to me, and I'll just give final thoughts, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. I tried to touch on as much as humanly possible that I could. I even made a little cheat sheet just to try to cover some stuff, to try to be thorough for you guys so I didn't miss anything, because I know you guys like as many answered as possible. I try to do it in a quick and timely fashion so you guys weren't watching a 35-minute video. If you have any questions that I didn't get answered on this, message me on the comments there. I try to do my best to answer all of the comments as quickly as possible. Work has been kind of crazy right now, so my hours have been all over the place, days off are all over the place, so it's kind of sporadic, but I will do my best to try to answer those questions for you. We do try to stream nightly. The Twitch is in the description of the video. If you guys can go over there, drop a follow, come hang out. I answer a lot of questions over there too. I actually die a lot answering questions, so I'm pretty interactive with my community. I'm not one of those guys who zones out and doesn't answer his chat. I don't even know why people stream if they don't want to talk to their community, but that's a whole nother side note. So I'm over there all the time. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and Twitter is on there too. If you click the Twitch, and you guys can hit me with DMs if you want. Discord's on there too. We have a really, really nice community. So that's all I have for you guys on that review. Like I said, try to be as thorough as possible, answer as many questions as I could in the time frame that I had. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, you guys have a good night. Be yourself, be positive. Don't worry about outside trolley bullshit. Everything usually works out in the end. Your opinion is the only one who matters. So if you like what you have, don't buy into the hype. You guys know the deal. Have a good night, guys. Peace.